The escape should have been impossible. The prison sat on a rocky island surrounded by freezing water, powerful currents, and armed guards. Its walls were reinforced with steel. Its cells were designed to crush hope. And for decades, everyone believed the same thing: nobody could get out. Yet on the night of June 11, 1962, 3 prisoners vanished from America's most secure prison. No alarms were triggered during the escape. No guards saw them leave. By the time anyone realized they were gone, the men had already disappeared into the darkness surrounding Alcatraz Island. More than 60 years later, nobody can say with complete certainty what happened next. To understand why this escape became one of the greatest prison mysteries in history, we need to travel to San Francisco Bay in the middle of the 20th century. Rising from the cold water was Alcatraz, a lonely island fortress that had once served as a military prison before becoming a federal penitentiary in 1934. The prison quickly gained a reputation unlike any other in America. It was built to hold inmates considered too dangerous, too violent, or too difficult to control elsewhere. Among its prisoners were notorious criminals whose names appeared in newspapers across the country. Men who had escaped from other prisons were sent here because officials believed Alcatraz could do what no other institution could: keep them locked away forever. The prison's greatest defense was not its walls, it was its location. The waters surrounding the island were brutally cold. Strong currents swept through the bay. The distance to shore was far enough to discourage even the strongest swimmers. Prison officials constantly reminded inmates that escape was pointless. Many believed them, but not everyone. One of the prisoners held inside Alcatraz was Frank Morris. Born in 1926, Morris had spent much of his life in trouble with the law. He was intelligent, resourceful, and known for escaping from institutions. Prison records described him as possessing an unusually high IQ. More importantly, he had a reputation for refusing to accept confinement. Inside Alcatraz, Morris became friends with 2 brothers from Georgia, John Anglin and Clarence Anglin. The Anglin brothers were bank robbers, but they also possessed a valuable skill. They had grown up working around water and were experienced swimmers. Over time, the 3 men began discussing a possibility that most inmates dismissed as fantasy. What if Alcatraz could actually be escaped? The idea sounded ridiculous. Yet as they studied their surroundings, they noticed weaknesses hidden beneath the prison's intimidating reputation. Behind their cells ran an unguarded utility corridor. The walls around ventilation openings showed signs of wear. The prison itself was aging. Small cracks and weaknesses had appeared over the years. What looked impossible from the outside began to look slightly less impossible from the inside. The men started planning, and they planned for months. Working mostly at night, they used improvised tools to slowly chip away at the concrete around the ventilation grills in their cells. The work was dangerous. Every scrape risked discovery. Every piece of removed concrete had to be hidden. To disguise the damage, they painted fake wall sections and carefully positioned them where guards would not notice. Night after night, the openings grew larger. Then the operation became even more ambitious. Once through the ventilation holes, the prisoners could access a hidden service corridor behind the cell block. There, beyond the sight of guards, they built the equipment needed for their escape. Raincoats became life jackets. Raincoats became a raft. More than 50 stolen prison raincoats were transformed into flotation devices using glue and heat from steam pipes. The process took months. Meanwhile, another challenge remained: the nightly bed checks. Guards regularly walked through the prison, visually confirming that inmates were asleep in their cells. Empty beds would instantly expose the entire plan. The solution was brilliant. The escapees created fake heads. Using papier-mâché, soap, paint, and real human hair collected from the prison barbershop, they sculpted lifelike dummy heads. From a distance, under dim nighttime lighting, they looked remarkably convincing. The prisoners placed the fake heads on their pillows. If everything worked, guards would believe they were asleep while the real men disappeared into the shadows. As the months passed, the plan expanded. Another inmate, Alan West, participated in much of the preparation. He helped dig escape routes and contributed to the project. but fate would eventually turn against him. Finally, the night arrived. June 11, 1962. The prisoners waited for darkness. One by one, they slipped through the openings in the backs of their cells. Crawling through the hidden corridor, they climbed toward the roof of the prison. Above them stretched the cold night sky of San Francisco Bay. Below them waited one of the most heavily guarded prisons in the world. The risk was enormous. A single mistake could bring armed guards running. But remarkably, the men reached the rooftop undetected. Alan West, however, encountered a problem. He could not widen his cell opening enough to escape in time. Despite desperate efforts, he became trapped behind. The others faced a choice: wait and risk everything, or continue without him. They chose to continue. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin moved forward alone. Crossing the rooftop, they descended a pipe, navigated security barriers, and reached the shoreline. There, hidden among the rocks, was the raft they had spent months building. The three men inflated the raft and prepared to enter the water. Then they vanished. What happened next remains one of history's great mysteries. The following morning, guards began their routine inspections. At first, everything appeared normal. Prisoners seemed asleep in their cells. Then a guard approached one of the beds. Something looked wrong. When he touched the head on the pillow, it rolled onto the floor. The prison erupted into chaos. Sirens sounded across Alcatraz. Guards searched every corridor. The FBI was called. Boats flooded the bay. Helicopters searched overhead. The largest manhunt in the prison's history had begun. Investigators quickly uncovered the elaborate escape operation. Hidden workshops, homemade tools, ventilation openings, and the astonishing dummy heads revealed months of preparation. The public was captivated. Newspapers across America carried the story. How had three prisoners escaped from the nation's most secure prison? More importantly, had they survived? Evidence soon began appearing. Search teams discovered fragments of equipment in the bay. Pieces of the raft were found. A homemade life jacket surfaced in the water. Personal belongings connected to the escapees were recovered. To many investigators, these discoveries suggested a grim conclusion. The men had likely drowned. The water around Alcatraz was dangerous even for experienced swimmers. Temperatures could quickly lead to hypothermia. Powerful currents could carry people far from their intended destination. The FBI eventually concluded that the escapees probably died in the bay. But there was a problem. No bodies were ever found. And over the years, new evidence continued to raise questions. Members of the Anglin family reported receiving mysterious messages. Some claimed they received Christmas cards signed by the brothers. Others said photographs surfaced that appeared to show John and Clarence alive years after the escape. None of the claims were ever conclusively proven. Then came another twist. Researchers began studying the currents in San Francisco Bay using modern computer simulations. Some studies suggested that under the right conditions, an escape from Alcatraz might actually have been possible. If the prisoners launched at the correct time, the currents could have helped carry them toward shore rather than out to sea. Suddenly, survival seemed more plausible than many had previously believed. The mystery deepened again in 2013. A letter reportedly written by one of the escapees surfaced. The author claimed to be John Anglin and stated that all three men had survived the escape. According to the letter, Frank Morris had died years earlier, while the Anglin brothers had lived under assumed identities. Authorities investigated, but never reached a definitive conclusion. The truth remained elusive. Today, historians, investigators, and amateur detectives continue debating what happened that night. Did the men perish in the freezing waters of the bay? Did they successfully reach shore and disappear into new lives? Or does the answer lie somewhere between those possibilities? What makes the story so fascinating is not simply the escape itself. It is the extraordinary level of ingenuity behind it. Three prisoners armed with stolen spoons, homemade tools, raincoats, and patience managed to outsmart one of the most secure prisons on Earth. They exploited weaknesses nobody else noticed. They created a secret workshop inside a maximum security prison. They fooled guards with handcrafted dummy heads, and they reached the water without being seen. Whether they survived or not, the achievement remains astonishing. In fact, the escape was so damaging to Alcatraz's reputation that it became part of a larger conversation about the prison's future. Just 1 year later, in 1963, Alcatraz closed permanently. Rising costs and deteriorating infrastructure made the prison increasingly difficult to operate. The fortress that had claimed to be escape-proof was gone. Yet the mystery never disappeared. Even now, visitors walking through the silent cell blocks can see the holes carved into the walls. They can look at the cells where the plan began and imagine the tension of those final moments before the escape. Somewhere beyond those walls lies the unanswered question that has endured for decades. Frank Morris, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin. Did they die trying to achieve the impossible? Or did they become the only men in history to successfully escape Alcatraz and never get caught? The prison was designed to remove all hope. The cold water, the steel bars, and the island itself were supposed to make freedom unattainable. Yet one June night in 1962, 3 men challenged that certainty. And whether they lived or died, they transformed an impossible prison break into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history.